Hey guys, I'm a little under the weather, I'm a little sleepy, hadn't been sleeping well lately, but we're about to get woke up right after this. All right, guys, so sadly, for some, others are kind of celebrating it, which is kind of rude when somebody passes. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away, and man, this may be the catalyst that causes the big boogaloo, the revolution, the Civil War, the new Civil War. But what I wanted to do today on Woke with Wes is discuss a little bit about Ginsburg's legacy. And let's first start with the quotes that have been coming out about her deathbed wish and some hypocrisy there. All right, so in 2016, RBG said, she was asked about a senatorial obligation to assess Judge Garland's qualifications. Her answer was immediate. That's their job. And she said there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president stops being president in his last year. That's an actual quote. And I've seen it going around Facebook, so I wanted to actually find a source that stated that it was legit. But in 2020, she asked that her fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed. Problem with this is this makes either the assumption that Trump's not going to be reelected, or it's hoping that Trump will go another 4.5 years without appointing a new nominee for the Supreme Court, which is absolutely asinine and ridiculous. So, whether she requested this or not, on her deathbed, and obviously there's a lot of people think her dying wish should be revered and held in a sacred place and actually utilized. Let's look at the Constitution and what it says. First off, in Article 2, it discusses presidential powers and what those presidential powers are, what qualifications for that somebody must adhere to become president. But in Section 2, we get into presidential appointments. So obviously he's Commander-in-Chief of the Navy. It discusses other principles of his powers and the guidelines for such. So if we read right here, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States. Now that's, like I said, by and with advice and consent of the Senate. Senate gets to make their own rules in how they decide if they consent. And they obviously advise whether you want them to or not, because they're politicians and they're going to speak their mind. That's all it says about there. There's no time frames. There's nothing about respecting somebody's dying wishes in presidential appointments of any office, much less the Supreme Court of the United States. Just a little note here, in 2013, Harry Reid changed the rules by which the Senate approved Supreme Court nominees from a 2/3 majority to a simple majority, which more than likely is going to bite the leftists in the butt coming up here in the next couple of months. So that's how they're appointed. If you want to know the powers of the judiciary, you can go to Article 3 and read these 3 sections. I'm not going to read them for you. Just trust me when I say there is nothing therein that discusses a justice's dying wish. Sorry about your luck, guys, but there is nothing in there to stop Trump and the Senate from going ahead and appointing and confirming a new justice to the Supreme Court. Something that troubles me is that Ginsburg, I know it's because she passed away and the other justices haven't, is getting all this credit. She's getting a lot of credit for these decisions that have been made, and saying she's a pioneer and that she argued these cases. Well, judges don't argue cases. And if you don't know a lot about the Supreme Court, there's 2 opinions that are written once the Supreme Court makes the decision. One is a majority opinion and one's a dissenting opinion. One of the justices that voted in the majority writes the opinion of the court. And then the dissenters write something, which all becomes public record, and you get an idea of why the dissenters chose to dissent. You get an idea, especially in controversial hot potato issues, you get an idea why the majority voted the way they did. So let's look at one of the most famous, or a couple of the most famous cases that Ginsburg is just being given all of this credit for. First is the United States versus Virginia. If you remember back, I think this is 96. Yes, 96. The Virginia Military Institute was being sued because a young lady wanted to gain entrance to the college. But you look, there are you got Rehnquist, Stevens, O'Connor, Kennedy, Souter, Ginsburg, and Breyer all voted. It was a 7-1 decision. Thomas dissented or wasn't available or was out sick or something like that. Scalia was the only dissenter in this court case. So to say that Ginsburg's death places this world in danger and it's going to put women's rights back 100 years or anything of that nature is just absolutely asinine and ridiculous, because only one justice dissented, and he was murdered with a pillow over his head a few years ago. To say that Ginsburg is the champion for rights is disingenuous. Obergefell Hodges. I believe this is the case about same-sex couples. This was a game changer. This changes how we look at marriage in this country. And a group of same-sex couples sued their relevant state agencies in Ohio. So this was kind of a combination of several different cases that all was heard. They were similar enough to be heard before the Supreme Court in one fell swoop. And there again, it's a 5-4 decision, kind of a split decision, a little closer than the others. But you had Kennedy, Ginsburg, Breyer, and Sotomayor, and Kagan all voting in favor of this. So again, Ginsburg's not by herself, nor could she, as a Supreme Court justice, make any decisions by herself. Again, to state that the world's going to go to hell now that Ginsburg's dead and that Trump may appoint another justice between now and the end of his first term, because he very well may have a second term, and so it's all irrelevant if that's the case anyway. But to say it's the end of the world is not the end of the world. There are 9 judges for a reason, and not all vote strictly conservative and not all vote strictly liberal. There is a lot of in between, and it depends on the legal arguments that go in there. Now, there are different ideas on interpretation of the Constitution. Just because morally I don't think people should live a certain way does not mean that I think legally it should be prohibited. So I bring up all these facts about these court cases and how people voted for this one single point. Ginsburg didn't do it by herself. So if you're running around here like your hair's on fire, worried about the world reverting back to gays and lesbians not being able to get married, or women not being able to get into military institutes, or anything like that, you're an idiot. So stop it. Thank you. So you need to chill out and think about how far you're willing to go outside of the law, because all of this that Trump is doing is within the law. Whether you like Trump or not, it is within the law. It's within his powers as president, as if we've already reviewed. It's within the history of presidential appointments. I think 29 times justices have needed to be replaced at the end or the last year of a presidential term. The big exception was in 2016. And to say, well, it's hypocritical for the Senate to push this through when they wouldn't do it in 2016. Well, what do you think? Who do you think's in Washington, guys? It's just a bunch of damn hypocrites. So why are you acting surprised and butthurt if they're acting hypocritical anyway? I'm going to get on a soapbox real quick. It's our own damn fault, because what we've done is we've allowed these people up there to have so much power that decisions they make can hurt or help us. But majority of the time, they all hurt us. So next time you ask your government to do something, remember, somebody eventually that you disagree with is going to be in there, do something you don't like. And what you've already done is gave them the power. And that whole Harry Reid thing in 2013 is a big, big, big example of that. So just keep in mind that, that we've brought it all on ourselves. Anyway, guys, hope that gets you woke in the right way. I'm Wes. I'll see you next time on Woke with Wes.